Hey folks, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, November 21st. We're going to take a look at RKLB today. So RKLB, I've had it on my list for a while, and it just kept running, and I pulled it up again today, and I thought, okay, before this gets out of hand, we need to do a video on RKLB. So I took everything off the chart and thought we would just sort of put in fresh levels and everything. The first thing that stands out, let's see if this stretches back smoothly or not. Nah, I'll leave this guy over here. The first thing that stands out is this uptrend support. Now, it's very steep uptrend. So I would just, I don't know if caution you about that is the correct way to put it, but I would just say if it does lose that, it doesn't feel like a situation to me where it's sort of like all hope is lost if it loses the uptrend support, because this rise has just been so quick and so steep that it may, what I'd more be looking for is, if it starts to consolidate, if it, for some reason, because of macro forces or whatever, comes down hard someday or one day soon, that if it bangs into this, does it give it some level of at least initial support? So more than anything, that's what I would be paying attention to that for. Now, if we zoom out, I just want to sort of see if I have anything useful to go off of. If I scroll left, yeah, there's going to be some stuff here. So let's put ourselves in some support and resistance levels, and then we will flip over to the think or swim study as well to see where things are looking there. But let's snatch these levels from the last time it was in this neck of the woods, which was brief. So also something to keep in mind. Obviously, it was a much different situation back here in 2021. But these levels make some sense to me. What do we have up here? Okay, I'm going to go off of, even though I'd rather not, more recent levels, just because there's slightly more here than there was over there in this realm or in this range. And so go there. All right, so this starts to paint us a little bit of a picture. Yeah, I like that level better. And what do we want here? Let's say stronger there. And then, yeah, our action gets really thin here, but may be able to look for a few spots to work off of there. In the 20s, close your eyes if you don't want to get motion sickness. Okay. 2134. Okay, well, we have that in the middle, so we might as well take it. It's something to go off of, as opposed to just barren no man's land. All right, so here's the picture as I see it currently. Now, immediate question here is 22.55 today, topping out at a high of 22.48. So within 7 cents. And I guess my question is, I wasn't watching this all day. Yeah, more than anything, obviously it rejected off of this area, this range, but it more than anything just got clocked out, right? It's just the market ended. It's not as though it rejected off of it and then it sort of fell down and was coming to look for this like 21.34 level or anything like that. While we're zoomed in here, I'm just going to put in another level. Can't stop putting in levels. There we go. That's the one I want. 21.99. Okay. That gives us something additional to go off of if it does bat around here a little bit, which wouldn't shock me, but it's purely a guess. But yeah, more than anything, it got timed out today, right? The market just closed. So it was a strong lean in toward that 22.55 that it topped out at the other day. And so the climb back off of the 1703 support has been strong. It's put in nice strong candles each day leaning into it. So the question here is, what does this look like? Does this look like a new high, or does this look like a double top? And just keep in mind, I can't remember what stock we were looking at just the other day, had a double top that stretched a little bit higher, right? So it was a new high. It would be as though, tomorrow's candle comes in at 22.75, right? And that's the top, and then it just sort of like free falls. So we have seen a bit of that recently. Double top, I feel like sometimes people think it has to be to the penny, or it has to be within a couple of cents, or it has to come in close but slightly lower, right? Sort of like the candle that we see today. It's not necessarily the case. Double top, think in ranges, give yourself a little bit of grace space, if you will, and not be so just on the penny with every particular thing. So that's the immediate question I have. Double top, or are there more highs to be had here? And if we do get something that sort of pushes back, right? If we do get some pushback, does 21.99 hold? Does 21.78 hold? We have a bunch here in the 21s as we approach, down toward 20.50, say. So several levels for it. And if it does, like I said, if it does sort of fall kind of heavy and hard, when it bangs off of this uptrend support, what does that look like? So that would be my next big question. And if we get extended above this 22.55 and we come and check it and there's not a ton to go off of, we can always put in some Fibonacci extension levels, and that could be our sort of like guiding force, at least for this Weeble chart, until we get something more in there. I mean, at this point, obviously all of the EMAs in a bullish formation, but anything like the 183 EMA, which is way down here at this point, it's at basically $8 at the moment. So just so far away from where the price action is at the moment, but doing a nice job, stretching up and then coming down and banging right off of that 8 EMA. Didn't even need to quite make contact with it, which, for all intents and purposes, standard thinking, we would say has more bullish momentum to exhaust. Obviously, that motion is proving true. The question is it going to prove true as it approaches, or right now as it's knocking on the doorstep of that very, very recent high? So that's the question that I have with that. Now, on the Thinkorswim side of things, nothing happening particularly interesting on the TTM squeeze indicator. The phase oscillator down here, just so we don't forget to cover it, is sitting about 127 so far. So I get a little bit, I guess I should say I get mighty questioning the ability to continue forward when we stretch into the 200s. So if we go by that standard, it certainly could have some space to continue on. And even if it did get into the 200s and it pulled back, that pullback may just look something like this, right? Where it's a brief sort of breath, and then it marches on its merry way. It doesn't mean that the rally's over. It doesn't mean that it's going to free fall. It's not anything like that. So to me, it may have some room left there. 127 is quite high. I get a little bit questioning when it gets into the hundreds, and sort of very skeptical when it gets above 200. But that's where we are at the moment. Obviously, it's blown through all these ATR levels. Coming into December, because these levels last for a month on the setup the way that I have it, that call trigger is going to be up around, 23 ish, right? Like just a smidge over 23, and it would take it up to about 25. So another good 10% gain or so if it were to be able to play that out at those levels. And coming in mid-range, even sort of the baseline of the ATR set up here, 22.39 or so. So right about where it is at the moment. So even if it kind of situated itself relatively sideways, just kind of pulled this channel up with it, allowed the phase oscillator to chill a little bit, right? Cool off a little bit, give it enough breath in the lungs that it could burst forward with another go. I could see that certainly playing out and potentially being the case as well. This is all just from a chart perspective. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about particular catalysts coming into play, which obviously, or even macro forces that could be sort of game changers as far as the chart is concerned. But that's what I'm looking for at the moment. I do think it would be interesting to see this get stretched through 22.55, maybe even come down and reconfirm off of it and head onward. Then, like I said, if there's interest, leave me a comment. I'd be happy to come in, put in some fib extension levels. Let me see what this guy would look like. Yeah, we can certainly put in especially for this run here, some fib extension levels, but we are going to need some additional motion here to sort of warrant it. It'll give us a more clear picture on the fib extension levels, which can feel a little bit like crystal ball and voodoo like anyway. And it gets even more so if the motion that you're trying to work with is a little bit questionable, if it hasn't quite played out enough to kind of, like I say, warrant being able to put in the fib extension levels. That's sort of how I would feel with this at the moment, to the mostly. So let's see how it plays out here. Like I said, if you're a bull, what I'd really be looking for is to get through this 2255. I would probably like to see it do that sooner than later, as opposed to sort of linger and languish around here. That would make me a little bit, it would make me question it a little bit. So if I'm a bull, what I'd really like to see is see it come up, take a little bit of a breath, maybe on some sort of psychological level, right? Like that, like run into the $23 level or like the $23.50 level, something like that, and come back and reconfirm off of something in the range of that 255. So maybe it only comes down to 275 or something like that, right? But something in that realm of this previous high that it's trying to overtake at the moment. If I'm a bull, that's what I'm looking for. Otherwise, if it does draw down and maybe loses some steam here, it does have a ton of support levels that it could work through. These ones that we put in that align to the 10-minute from today are going to be much more questionable than the ones that we were able to put in from the daily chart. They just don't have as much history behind them, but they're what we have to go off of at the moment. And so we'll sort of take that for what it's worth. I do want to take a quick look here at the volume. Okay. I mean, there are some good volume shelves here. If it does dip down and, not too far away. I mean, no one's going to want to see it go down, or the bulls aren't going to want to see it go down 10, 12% to get to like a sizable volume shelf or anything. But, maybe something to sort of consider as well if it does sort of draw back through and you have say thin or questionable support levels in play. That's maybe something to consider. And then holy smokes, profited shares at close, I mean, as you would expect, right? It's just off of all-time highs, so almost 100% profitable at the moment. And so you're going to wonder how people are going to feel about that, and if buyers are going to continue to step in with the chart that looks like this. Is there going to be some FOMO at play here, versus are there going to be folks that are going to get a little bit sort of skittish and think, I got to like lock this profit in and sort of see what happens and not worry if I leave some meat on the bone? That's always a question, right? Like, what's the mass psychology of the investor class that still has the ability to come in, and the investor class who's already in and is maybe looking to let their winners ride or lock in profit, or some mix of both. All right, folks, so I hope you've had a good trading week, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.